This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Strap yourself in
because we're set up, switched on and ready to go.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How are we? This is Leicester Till I Die. It's what night is it? Wednesday. We're back to 2 games a week, and it completely fools me. You are watching Leicester Till I Die. We are on YouTube at Leicester Till I Die TV. Go on, help us out. Subscribe to the channel. I think we're only about 3 or 4 off the 450. That would be great to reach that. So don't forget to subscribe. On Facebook, we are on Leicester Till I Die. It's the group, of course. And on Twitter at Leicester TID. What a week. What a week. They say a week's a long time in politics. In the midst of all this, there might be a football game that breaks out. One or two. I tell you what, ESL, it's come, it's gone. I've had longer sessions with my missus. I had to take a few breaks, I grant you, but my God, that all sort of escalated and de-escalated very quickly. I say we should get Nigel Farage. Maybe it was this man that needed to come in and sort out what's going on. Yes, Detective Chief Constable Hastings. That's who we needed. What we need is a football match. It is. And we've got one coming up. It's the Premier League. It's tomorrow night. And if you want something that will last longer than the ESL did, then why don't you try this? Barry Pierpoint, Leicester's first ever chief executive, his book, Minding My Own Football Business. You think that this is like the first time shit like this has happened. You should go back to the 1990s and Leicester City. It was all happening. Read about it in this book. If you go to all the W's at mindingmyownfootballbusiness.com before the end of April and purchase it off there, you'll get 30% off. Barry says it's to celebrate his birthday. I don't think it's his 30th birthday, to be honest with you. Probably, if he matched his birthday, we probably couldn't afford to give the discount. Only joking if you're watching, Barry. But it is 30% off. All the W's, mindingmyownfootballbusiness.com. It'll even sign it for you as well. And it is a great, great read, I'll tell you. A couple of hellos here. Oh, just one hello. No, 2 hellos. Hello to Melina. How the devil are you? Arsenal fan, you must be happy. I haven't heard Cronky come out and apologise. Glazier's come out and apologised. Jay Henry, whatever he's called, Hoover, whatever it is, from Liverpool's come out and apologised. It was like the Muppet Show, wasn't it? Stefan, the Villa fan. Hello, sir. How the devil are you? Nice to have you along. Well, Foxes versus Big Sam. It certainly is. It's not going to be as easy as I thought it was. But hey, we're on a roll because we're in the FA Cup final. We've got to be happy, haven't we? We've got to be happy. I've just pressed the wrong button there. Let's bring my guests in this evening. And first of all, we're going to bring my normal chat show chum in for the preview match and say hello to Craig. Hello there, Craig.
Hi, Chris. Hello, everyone. How you all doing?
You got to be happy, haven't you?
I'm always happy, Chris. But yes, yeah, even more so with the weekend and with the semi-final and the comings and goings of the Super League. It's a good time to be a Leicester City fan.
I tell you what, it was one of those results at the weekend, wasn't it, where the actual result mattered more than the performance.
Definitely, and it's a good job because there wasn't much of a performance, was there, from both teams? I think.
It was a performance. We don't know what sort of a performance.
We did what we needed to do, and apparently that's the sign of a good team. Now, when we weren't near the top of the table, I thought all that was rubbish, but now that we are, we can see the benefits in getting a result instead of a performance.
Exactly. And I'm going to bring in our special guest this evening. He may have difficulty sitting still this evening because he will possibly have a few splinters in his bottom because he's going to be probably sitting on the fence this evening because he's not only an ex-Fox, he's an ex-Baggie. I can't believe I'm about to say this to Steve Lynex, but how's your bottom, Steve?
It's not bad after this weekend. Thanks very much.
Hey, we're going to touch on it first. Did you watch the semi-final?
I did watch it. I thought it was a absolutely terrible game, but an absolutely great result. And you'd take that any day, wouldn't you?
You would. We've just said it goes in off somebody's arse, and you win 1-0. It doesn't matter. Hi there, TM. It's great that we are in a final. Steve, Craig, I don't know whether that ball was actually meant for Nacho or Castagna, who was steaming down the left.
Oh, it was definitely for Castagna, wasn't it? That was. But Nacho, in the form that he's in, he nicked it and played a fantastic 1-2 off the defender and slotted it in.
Craig, some of Nacho's still unbelievers was saying, yeah, that's fine. He got the goal, but he missed the first goal. But I can remember down the years, I've seen a lot of players that get in that position, have a first shot, it doesn't go in, and they stand there paralysed and don't even attempt to make the comeback as it goes past them. At least he had the presence of mind to stick his boot out for the second one, and obviously it went in.
Exactly, and he didn't thrash at it. He could have just swung a leg at it and it blazed over the bar as Maddison did a couple of times when he came on. But no, he was still there, still composed, still in the moment, and that's the mark of a good striker. And he's doing well because he's now being linked with lots of so-called bigger clubs in the summer transfer market, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. You would never have done that, would you, Steve? You were always there ready for the rebound.
Always there ready for the rebound, yeah.
You'd have got the first one in, Steve.
When you look at it from behind, you didn't realise it was going so far wide when he hit the first one. And I think because his eye line was there following the ball, that's the look he got because it came straight back at the same angle that he put it on. And I think that's why he looked composed, because I was thinking when you look at it, he must have thinking, oh, God, I can't believe I've missed that. But then all of a sudden the ball's back at his feet. And like you say, he put it away superb. So, you got to say he meant it in the
end. we don't care, do we? We don't. I mean, Steve, looking at that game, I'll stick with you if I can do it at the moment. Looking at that game, and we'll go on to West Brom after this question, but it wasn't a classic. We've all said it won't live long in the memory. The result will, but the game won't. Was it the fact that we didn't need to? I mean, Southampton never had a shot on goal for the whole 90 minutes. Well, we only had one, but at least we were having the shots. We didn't really need to come out of that gear, did we?
I think, to be honest, it goes back to your tactics, and I think we hit on it on the last show. Is that you play wing backs? Wembley's too big for wing backs, and your players can't get up and down like they can on the normal pitches, and I think that slows everything down, and that's why it was a game like it was. Because how many times did your wing backs go and overlap? How many times did your wing backs get up there? You can't do it on a big pitch like that.
No.
So I think that's why you had a game where there wasn't much attacking, because the play was starting too far back.
Yeah. Well, I've got to be honest with you. I'm going to be saying thank you to Southampton at the moment because they're still 1-0 ahead of us, 1-0 ahead of Tottenham. So keep it up, Southampton. That'll mean at the moment Tottenham are 6 points behind and played 2 games more. But also, Craig, a big, huge thank you to Brighton last night. Did us a bit of a favour with Chelsea. And, looking at that Chelsea last night, I'd fancy us in the final.
Yeah, definitely. Chelsea are a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde at the minute. Brighton should have won that game. They had much the better chances, and Chelsea seemed to sort of flatter to deceive a bit. I mean, you look at the team, the players on the team sheet, you look at the bench, and it's a fantastic squad, but something's not quite right there. And they're not firing on all cylinders, and hopefully that's the Chelsea that we face. Yes, yeah. Well, hey, we're back to 2 games in a week. It's totally thrown me out this week. I know we used to do this regularly with the old your Europa League, but Thursday night, there we are at the KP, 8:00. It's on BT Sport for those that have that platform. Other platforms might be able to be found if you search, but it's also on lcfc.com, Radio Leicester, and Radio 5 Live. Steve, you what we said, you are going to have mixed emotions because you're from that neck of the wood anyway, and you played for West Brom as well after ourselves. Does it? I mean, I spoke to the West Brom fan yesterday last night on the Opposition View, and he, bless him, he was smiling. And he said, if I didn't smile, I'd cry. But you're looking at West Brom, and they're struggling. Do you look at that and think maybe they should have stuck with Bilic?
To be honest, no, I don't think so. I think they were they were going stale, a lot of the clubs. And I think under Village, he only had a plan A. He didn't have a plan B. And I think I think Sam's in the same kind of mould at the moment as well. He's more, stopping the goals from going in. But they've had 2 great results, and they've scored a lot of goals. Yes. And I think, out of the bottom half now, down the bottom, you can only see West Brom going one way. Whereas a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, you'd say the 3 that were down there that are going to go down. But they've given themselves a bit of a fighting chance. I think they've left it too late, but it might bring a bit of excitement into it. But
yes,
on the other side of it, with everything that's gone on this week, I've got a lot of friends from my area now around here. They're all becoming Leicester City fans because they like the way the club's being run. They like the way they're performing, how they're holding themselves and showing themselves what a good club they are. And I think if you go around the country now and you start asking, supporters from other clubs, I think Leicester will be high on their agenda, saying, that's how to run a football club.
I think that was the thing that came out, wasn't it, Craig? About after all, about all this trouble, people were saying, you couldn't have seen our owners doing that. I mean, Melina here, she bless her, she mods for me on this channel. She's an Arsenal fan, but she was saying she was going to come and support Leicester. I still hope you are, Melina. Don't be taking any of this we're sorry shit. Come over to Leicester anyway. We'll gladly have you. But all joking aside, we have the owners that everybody wants, really, don't we?
We are. It was funny because it was put to me that every team in the Premier League, if they were offered a place in that Super League, would have taken it. And I strongly fought the case that I don't think we would. It seemed to be led by American owners, and then others who didn't want to get left behind, who didn't necessarily believe in it, the likes of Spurs. But I would like to think, in all my heart, that we would not have done that, because we are the epitome of what you can do in football if you run your club well and you can grow. And it was great to see on the first night, I think, Steve Parish from Crystal Palace came onto the show and spoke really eloquently and said that whenever he goes to a Premier League meeting, he always votes as if he's in the Championship because he knows he could well be back there at any moment. And that's the proper clubs who see football as as a fan, the ups and downs of it, not a money making business. And it was great to see that no sooner was the ink dry on that 177 page document and contract than it was ripped up.
Steve, we look at the ESL, and as Craig alluded to there, maybe it was led by the Americans because it certainly had an American feel to it, didn't it? And the fact that the first two clubs that came out and were sort of hinting at leaving were sort of Man City and Chelsea, and you've got Saudi Arabian and Russian owners who maybe did go along, but they, the Americans took the time. It was very Americanized.
Well, I think, to be honest, you've got to blame Leicester City. Leicester City's the cause of this because the Leicester bandwagon, the success they're having, is putting that much pressure on these so-called Big Six teams now, who now know there's a fight on. They're not guaranteed top six places anymore. They're not guaranteed the big money from the top. So they've had to start thinking, hang on a minute, it's getting harder for us now because of these clubs coming through. We'll have to go to the Super League where we can get loads of money, no pressure on us. If we lose, no problem. And I think, what a great advertisement it is for the clubs that are coming through. And, like you just said earlier on about the results, Brighton doing Spurs, or was it, Man City losing against Leeds. None of the top six, so-called top six, are guaranteed to win anymore. And I think they're looking now at an easier option of getting more money at a safer venue. And I go back to looking at Match of the Days, the Sky and things like that. How many of these managers come on over the last few months saying fixture pile-ups, the players are getting tired, and then all of a sudden now they want to throw in a midweek league where you're travelling miles and miles and miles every week. So it's pathetic, really is pathetic.
I've got to ask you, Steve. Can you see my questions? Because that was my next question.
Oh, sorry.
How much was it down? How much was it? Well, no, I did. I was approached earlier by a lad who was at uni, and he's doing his dissertation on sports and what have you. And he asked me 4 general questions about the ESL, and we'll make this final point before we move on to West Brom. But he did say, how much is this down to Leicester City? And, the rumours, if you remember, Craig, going back to 2016, were that they were never going to let that happen again. Yeah. But the playing field, because there's so much money in the Premier League, and because it's, they're still getting more, obviously they are. But I think, it's a lot like, when we want, West Brom didn't have to sell Johnny Evans until they knew they were going down because it wasn't the fact that they needed the cash. It's become a lot more level playing field. So, I think, as Steve just said then, having read my questions, I think it is down to a little bit down to Leicester City.
I think it is. I think it was, sorry, Steve. I think it was quoted again that someone in one of the boardrooms and said, we can't have another Leicester City. And we're becoming the byword. It was great that we were mentioned by lots of players. I saw one earlier, I think the Barcelona PK name checked us, and we've been name checked by a lot of people when they were talking about this. And it was bound to happen, though. There was more money in the Premier League. Even the lower half teams of the Premier League have got more money now than most of the continental teams. So they can go and cherry pick the best players from probably 3/4 of the Spanish league, 3/4 of the German league, nearly all of the French league. There's only a few clubs who can compete, and they're at the very top of those leagues. The lower half Premier League teams now can go and cherry pick the best players from around Europe. So it was only a matter of time before everybody started to improve, and it became a much more of a level playing field.
Bookline says there, we need to keep the Americans out of English football. That's very brave, Bookline. You being start there in the good old US of A. But I mean, they were saying like with Liverpool, they've already got the previous owners out. Be interesting to see how long, Jay Henry leaves. But it was a very grovelling apology that he made. But we've got West Brom tomorrow night, so let's get back on track. And Steve, I mean, we haven't done a league double over West Brom since 1993-94. and they are on a bit of a run of form, aren't they?
They're hitting the form at the right time. If you look at the results and the where they are in the league, like I said a bit earlier, they're out of the bottom, say 6-7 clubs. They look the only club now that's got the momentum to start moving. But I think they've left it too late. I think they should have done it earlier. I'm hoping that Leicester do them to stay in the spot they are.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a hard game, and I think Leicester now need to crack on. They need to say, right, we've got where we want to do in the FA Cup final. Now we go, because you never know. You never know what the FA or anybody's going to do to the top 6 that wanted to leave. They might have points deducted. They might ban them from Europe next year. But they have to carry on with the momentum. And I think if they get the result tomorrow, Leicester, I see it's going to be good. But they have to, they have to be up for it.
Tottenham have just equalised against Southampton, so it's 1-1 there. But yeah, Craig, I mean, going into this, like we say, who would have foreseen, and I know Chelsea went down to 10 men, but who would have foreseen West Brom doing that 5-2 over Chelsea? And, they did us a favour, I think, because it was nice to see Southampton to lose so that they went into the semi-finals like us, having lost the game. But as Steve said, they are the team on form. I think it's too late for them. I don't think they're going to stay up, but they are the team on form at the moment.
They definitely are. I don't think they got enough credit for that performance against Chelsea and the quality of the goals that they scored. There were some fantastic goals. They played really well. They stretched Chelsea. Sam's. I must admit, I'm not a big fan of Big Sam, but I think that's probably because I don't think there is a bigger fan of Sam than Sam. But he knows how to. He knew, that experience, knowing how to play against 10 men, and they really stretched them, and they got down the sides, and they scored some fantastic goals, and they took that into the next game. So it's definitely not going to be an easy game. What I would hope is that our better composure on the ball can see us pick them off a little bit, because I think they can't go for a draw. They can't sit back. They have to come and take the game to us, and hopefully that'll play into our hands a little bit.
Yeah, David's saying there we were named in the House of Commons. We were also name checked on James Corden's Late Show in America. Yeah. And I love the fact that he turned to the guy and said, "No, you've ever heard of Leicester City?" He's just going, "No." It's like that's great. It's not going to be I don't think it will be a 3-0, although I have predicted the same result. But the first game there, Steve, I think it was the first game of the season, wasn't it? And, we did, thank you very much, extremely well.
Yeah, Leicester took the game to West Brom from the start. And I think, you're going back to the West Brom-Chelsea game. I think that was a mirror game of the quarter-final with Leicester and Man U. Now, I've never seen West Brom attack any team in the last 2 or 3 years like they did Chelsea. But I think the memento of everybody trying to get forward, and they looked like anybody could score at any time, just like Leicester did against Manchester United. So, who turns up again tomorrow night with that that frame of mind will win the game easy.
This is the thing, you just don't know which teams, and it's not just Leicester. I mean, Southampton was staying the same. You can put the same team out, they can have a fantastic play like Brazil one week, and no disrespect, but play like Stockport the next week. You just don't know. But that game, Craig, of course, Timothy Castagna announced his arrival in the Premier League, and it took 56 minutes, but. And then Jamie got on the score sheet, and that'd be nice to have him back on the score sheet, wouldn't it? Although it was 2 penalties, fair, but
yeah, it would be. If I remember rightly, I think Castagna played on the right hand side in that game and came in from out wide and planted a header in. And that was the first we'd really seen of him. But what a way to make your debut and make your mark. And I think him and Ricardo have not really come back from their injuries. The same players at the minute. I think they need more minutes, and I think that will be one of the things that Brendan will need to do throughout the rest of the season is just manage the players who have come back from injury and make sure that they don't pick up anything again, so they can see it through, obviously, into the cup final as well. So I think you'll see people rotated a little bit, but I think he'll use his bench very wisely in the next few games as well to try and freshen things up and not overplay people.
That said, in that goal against Southampton, a lovely flick from Evans and Pierre. And I was trying to work out who it was, but Pierre, a lovely ball straight down the line to Vardy. You know, it was like on a normal day it would have gone out. I want to ask Steve this. Looking at that, I'm just saying, like Jamie Vardy there with his penalties. Then he got a couple more against Man City. You've got Vardy, who at the moment isn't on form. You've got Iheanacho, who is on form. Let's take it back to your day, and let's say Gary Lineker, who I think he used to take the penalties, if my memory serves me right, or Youngie. But for this example, we'll say Gary Lineker. Let's say he's on a bit of a goal drought, and you are scoring like Iheanacho is, and we got a penalty. Would you be going up saying, "Oi, I'm on form, I'm going to have this," or would you let Lineker and Vardy as a normal penalty taker have a go?
I think it all depends on your circumstance and what you're playing for. I think your manager wouldn't let you do that if you've got to win the game, because if you're the regular penalty taker, you would take it. But in some circumstances, it's happened. It happened when we played Carlisle, and we won 6, and Gary was on 2 goals. We got another penalty. I'd already got my hat trick, so I let him take that one to get his hat trick as well. But Jamie Vardy, he'll get his goal. Like I said before the game, the semi-final, that if he's not getting in the positions, that's when you got to worry. But he had a good chance again to do it, and then he done well for the goal. So I don't see any problems with Jamie Vardy at all. Okay, he's not scored for a bit, but he's still doing things and creating things. So the only time you've got to worry about Jamie Vardy is when he's standing on the halfway line with his hands on his hips doing nothing, and I think that's the only time you've got to worry about that.
That was another old striker, wasn't it? Craig used to do that. Was it Mr. Beckford? Used to be his trick, if I remember. But,
well, he did do. But you reminded me that I'm sorry to name check him. I'm sure he's not watching, but I remember going up to. It was in a League Cup game. It was probably about 10 seasons ago or whatever, and we went up for the second leg to Manchester City, and Steve Howard was up front for us. I don't think he left the centre circle in 90 minutes. I don't know. Hopefully it wasn't a performance-related pay, because he wasn't getting paid that night, that's for sure.
I do remember, just as a Steve Howard joke, though, when he scored the winner against Leeds. I think it got us, or it very much took us to promotion. He actually said that night he don't know how he made it into the box. He was that knackered. He was surprised to find himself there. He said, "If I'm honest with you," but like you say, I mean, he has turned provider now, Jamie, and as long as one of them are knocking it in, it's fine. It's still 1-1. But Craig, I mean, stick with you. Newcastle did us a favour, didn't they, with West Ham as well? Everything's going for us. If we, it's typical of Leicester that we will go and we'll either draw or lose this, when other teams have put us in the position. Chelsea drawing, West Ham losing. It would just be like Leicester, wouldn't it, to go and lose the game?
I think we've done that on numerous occasions in the past, where you could start putting a gap. The plus side is, though, if we do slip up and drop some points, and let's say we only take a draw, we haven't lost anything because the others have dropped off as well. So it could have been a lot worse. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool, West Ham and Chelsea and Spurs have all dropped points in their last game. Liverpool dropped points quite late on in their last game. So everybody's trying to help us over the line. We just need to help ourselves.
We do need to help ourselves. Steve,
I think this farce of what's gone on over the last couple of days is going to be a tremendous help, because the pressure now is on these top 6 players, top 6 teams, and I think the teams that they're coming up against that are lower than them have got a point to prove to these teams, saying, "Hang on a minute, you're taking us lightly. We're gonna give you a slap and a tickle, and we're gonna try and give you as much crap as we can."
It's been very unfair, hasn't it, Steve, to the players? And I take your point, but they were stuck in the middle of all this because Henry's creeping apology to yesterday or today, whenever it was, included apologies to his manager and his players. So they've been I noticed the Chelsea players warming up against Brighton, and Brighton had all the T-shirts on, no to the ESL and all this, and it has put extra pressure on the players. But that might work in our favour over the last few games.
I think it will do, and I think there's a lot of the top 6 managers. I think they had to know about this. They're not going to, have these secret meetings with chairmen and not let the manager know, because the manager's going to have to plan at some time how he's going to be able to cope with all these new fixtures and what he needs. So I think there's a few of them coming out saying they didn't know nothing about it, but they must have known something about it. But like you say, it's going to do everybody else a favour. It's going to clean the rotten air out of what's been there. Because you're going on to this European league and that, but you've got to blame the Premiership and that as well, and the English leagues, because you're playing semi-finals at Wembley, and I feel, this is my opinion, it's just that the only reason you're playing the semi-finals at Wembley is to pay for Wembley, because there's no other reason why the game should be played at Wembley. And I think it's a thing that the FA brought in so they could pay off the debt of what they've got at Wembley.
Oh yes.
And I think it's going to do football a world of good, I think.
I think there'll be a lot of things to be taken a look at. Craig, Leicester have not lost 3 in a row since February 2019, when a certain Mr. Prell was in charge. But that said, West Brom, haven't won 3 in a row since 2012.
Sounds like a draw, doesn't it?
It's got draw written all over it, hasn't it?
It has. Although, if we're talking about records and stats, and I know you love your stats, Chris, I'm going to count. I'm going to count the semi-final as a game, so that's that 3-game run already taken care of.
Well, I'm going to come back at you now then with the fact that West Brom have played more Premier League games on a Thursday without ever winning than any other side in the competition. So I'll take your stat and I'll outstat you, sir.
You've dragged that one up from somewhere, Chris. Jeez.
That was courtesy of Sky. I have to be honest with you.
All right.
I don't sit here, I must admit, and actually go through all the books and paperwork. I do rely on my good friend, Mr. Google. He's a good friend to me. He really is. Steve, 2 teams. I know it's not necessarily a 6-pointer, but 2 teams that need the 3 points for different reasons. We need it because we are obviously want to stay in a top 4. We want to make that gap bigger, etc. West Brom need it because they need to stay up. It is going to be a case of who wants it more. And my feeling at the back of my head is West Brom's need, if you like, is greater than ours, and they're going to want it more, and they're going to come at us from the start, aren't they?
The 2 previous games where they've had the good results, he's telling you that they're going to come at you, because they know they can score goals now. They know they haven't got to sit back anymore, and I think it's very, very dangerous. Out of the bottom 6, I don't think Leicester would have wanted to play West Brom at this certain time, because they're getting the memento just like Leicester. But Leicester's in the same kind of thing as well. They can't get carried away because everybody keeps going on about your stats and whatever. They'll be thinking about last year where they started to fall back and fall away from it. They've got to get the mind right now, saying, right, the season starts from tomorrow night against West Brom, and we've got to think this is a fresh season. We've got to attack it as though it's fresh, and put West Brom into place. Because if they take West Brom too lightly, then West Brom will be, in the faces, and they'll put pressure onto them. So I think Leicester need to come out of the blocks tomorrow and let West Brom know why they're so high up in the league.
We don't always start well, though, Craig, do we? So that will be interesting. As we say, we need to. It would be good. It would be good to have a couple of shots, a couple of goals, and we can relax. But that's not Leicester always, is it?
No, we sometimes do start slowly. I thought we started okay against Southampton at the weekend. I think we could have scored from the first attack, but no, we have been guilty in previous games of starting a bit slowly, and particularly against West Brom, as Steve said, who are going to come at us, and also a very physical team as well. It's not just the fact of like a Man City coming at you and closing you down. They're a very physical team as well, and built in Sam's own image. And we've got to, I know it's a cliche, and we've all heard it before, but it is one of those where we have to earn the right to play our football. So we've got to win, or at least compete on a physical level before we can get the ball down and actually play a little bit.
And it's nice to see, Craig, injuries aren't. It's probably the least number of injuries that we've had all season. We've got Wes Morgan out, but bless him, he's probably not going to be near the first team for a while, if at all now. Between he's probably going to retire at the end of the season. So we've got Barnes out, we've got Justin out, who are two great players and big losses. But when you look how we were at one point, where we had almost like an NHL hospital full of cropped players, it's great we're getting back to that full squad just at the right time.
It is, and I would hope now that we've got two things to play for. We've got European qualification, but we've also got an FA Cup final. And I'm pretty sure, Steve, you know better than me, being an ex-pro, the lure of an FA Cup final has got to weigh heavy on a lot of players, and they're going to have to be playing at the top of their game to make sure they're walking out at Wembley. They're not sneaking out after everyone and taking a place on the bench. They're going to want to make their mark and be part of that first 11 at the end of the season. So everybody's got a clean slate almost now. We've got 7 games and it's a mini season, and everybody's got to show what they're made of.
That's right. And like I just said before, you've got to start saying to yourself now, this is the start of the season. It's 7 games. What's 7 games really? I think Leicester can start to take the foot off the pedal when other results have gone their way and they've got a bit of a buffer. But I think they have to have that bit of edge. They have to say, right, the only team that's going to beat us this year is ourselves, because everything is going for them at the moment. Everything off the field that's happening through the league and at Leicester, the way they run, they're just geared to carry on stronger and stronger through the last 7 games.
It'd be interesting to know. Sorry, Chris, just a quick one. It'd be interesting to know, Steve, from an ex-pro's perspective, when or you think that you're a regular in the team. You're going to be on the team sheet. When you're being pressed for your place a little bit, do you feel it? Do you respond to it? Does it give you a bit of an extra push, knowing that there's now someone who's snapping at my heels to take my place?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, you have to, and I think that's where Man City and people like that have got it right. Is that they've got 2 or 3 players which they can afford to have for each position, and you have to, like a lot of players that are good trainers but bad match players, and then you got the other way around. You got good match players but bad trainers, and I think if you're one of the bad trainers and you see guys that are sharper and getting in and whatever, you have to step up your game. And I think the only thing that's going to mess with players' heads now, if they're changing the team for tactics wise and like against the opposition and change the thing momentum round, I think Brendan will have to look at that. I know you said that you will see a lot of changes, but I don't think you should be tinkering with it now. I think you should be saying, right, I'm going to play my strongest team, no matter whatever. And we go for it.
I thought Craig was going to ask the same question I was going to ask. Then it started. And you guys have definitely been reading my notes here, but it was slightly different. And I got asked this the other day. We are? I don't think this actually been 100% confirmed. The possibly the 15th of May, which was when we're going to play Chelsea in the league for the FA Cup, but that will obviously be confirmed. But it is, probably a month away now to that. As a player, did you, Steve, like with the 1982 Cup run, do you think Wembley's coming up. I've got to be careful. I mean, when do you go into that tackle thinking, oh, I could hurt myself here and I might be out for the cup final? Because West Brom are going to be going out for it because they say they're fighting for their lives. Do you as a player ever think, no, maybe I shouldn't go for that one?
Personally, I've never done that. I'm going back to when I was a kid. We got to the FA Youth Cup final with West Brom, and I missed the second leg of the final through injury. Because you don't get to think of it that way. But the closer Wembley becomes, then you might start thinking about it. But you can't. I don't think when the FA Cup final now, because they've already played at Wembley, is as much as it used to be years and years ago. Because you fought to get to Wembley, and I think this is where the modern day game is now taking a bit away from it, because every ground in the Premiership is like Wembley. So, and I don't think, and because of the amount of foreign players you've got, I don't think Wembley's as special now as it used to be. No. So I think that takes away a bit of the sharpness of it. But hopefully, if we can get back to, in the next few years, that there's no semi-finals at Wembley and stuff like that, I think then the mindset might change. But I think at the moment now they're all concentrating on what they've got to do in the league.
Craig, we mentioned this before when we had a nice run of games coming up, and I don't want to sort of tempt fate and say like, oh, here come the easy games, but our destiny is in our hands, isn't it? Because we've got, no disrespect to these teams, West Brom, Palace, Southampton, Newcastle, they're all teams that we should be able to go out and beat. And then obviously we've got a small matter of Tottenham, Man United, Chelsea twice because we've got the cup final. I don't necessarily want to use these words, but these next 4 games could be season defining.
Well, I think I've said it before, Chris. I see this as our season. You've got to think, looking at those 4 fixtures, if we got 12 points from those 4 fixtures, I don't think we could get caught. I know technically we probably could, but there's going to be teams who have got to play each other so they can't all get the points. I think, if we could do that, I'm sure we won't, because football doesn't work like that, unfortunately. There'll be an iffy result in there somewhere, but we could all dream if we could get those 4 wins and 12 points. I think that would see us safe. And then the last 3 games, maybe you can sort of not go into the tackle that you might have gone into earlier in the season.
It's that time when Craig. I mean, he didn't listen to you again for the semi-final, did he, Craig? Brendan, I think, has been rather busy not listening to you and the teams. But we're just going to have a quick hello from Alan, and then we'll be back and we'll be looking at Craig's team.
Hi, Alan Smith here. Be sure to watch and listen to Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels. Up the Foxes!
I don't know if that worked. Again, it was having trouble at my end. But, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and help us get towards our target. Right, let's have a look if this is going to work. It'll be the first. It'll be amazing if it does, because once again, Craig, and I'll tell you what, Steve, I think I'm going to ask you to do this rather than Craig. He likes to throw in the works a formation that doesn't exist. What did you go for this week, Craig?
I think it was a 5-1-2-2, but
I don't know. It was like a 1-4-7-9, whatever. But this is as close as we could get it, to be honest with you. But we've got Casper in goal there, haven't we?
Yeah, we're going to go with that.
And then left centre back there, you've gone for the normal sort of ones for this position, haven't you?
Yeah, I think I think Brendan has decided this is his formation at the moment. Whether it will change in the close season with some different signings, but from the players we've got available at the minute, I think he's pretty settled that he's going to go with a back 3. So it's Soyuncu, Evans, and then Fofana.
I'm just trying to find our Mr. Evans. There we go. Yeah, and are you happy with that back three, Steve?
I think so. I think the way he's playing at the style of play he's playing at the moment, it does look strong. But like you say, it's the formations that really get me because, it all depends on the opposition, how the game pans out. I think that's the only thing I can say at the moment about that, really.
Yeah. Sounds like he doesn't agree with you there.
It's not so much I don't agree with him, but I think it's hard for a player who's played from the earlier days, but all these new systems and that and whatever now. Because I think that's what turns the games boring. I think that's what turned the game into a boring game semi-final, because the systems are playing, they're trying to nullify each other, and you're looking at, you could watch paint dry for 60, 70 minutes of the game because nothing's not going to happen. It's going to go square back, square back, square back. And, that's the problem I got with it.
It has changed totally football, hasn't it? It is very much now, or about 10 pieces of paper on the wall in the changing room before you even go out. But you're putting Thomas in there, aren't you?
Yeah, I was just going to say on the formation, I think for me, I prefer a back four, to be honest. But, I could put a team out that I would necessarily pick, but it's not going to be anywhere near. I know I rarely get close anyway, but I think we all know he's going to go with the three, so it makes sense to try and work within that. And I think these formations have changed almost. It's like a FIFA generation on a computer. Now, when I was watching you, Steve, there wasn't any such thing as a defensive midfielder or an attacking midfielder. You were a midfielder. That was your job. Everybody didn't have a name. You were a right back, left back, centre half, and you were a midfielder or a winger. Now to have defensive mids and attacking mids and holding players and all this malarkey. I know it's old school, but I don't like it. I'm still a big fan of a 4-4-2, I must admit.
We've got Thomas there, and we'll come on to the right side in a minute. But Thomas over Ricardo, Ricardo was pulled off at the weekend with a bit of a tight thigh. But you're going to put Thomas in there.
For me, as I said, and I think I said this last week, I'm not a big fan of playing players out of position, and he I don't like Ricardo on the left. I think he feels sort of nullified. It doesn't seem natural to him in terms of getting backwards and forwards on it. And Castagna's a solid on the right hand side. And I think if Ricardo's feeling it a little bit and he's not been 100% since he's come back from injury, I don't think it does any harm in just putting him on the bench and giving Castagna a run and a proper natural left-sided player such as Thomas a run on the left-hand side.
And you wouldn't then have Castagna on the left because he's obviously played on the left for his national team and for us as well. You'd sooner have Castagna there on the right?
I think he's more natural. I mean, again, we touched on it earlier in the very first game when he played against West Brom and he played on the right-hand side. He seems much more natural and confident, I would say, in getting forward from a right-hand side than he does a left-hand side. And I think I'm a big believer in you play players where they feel more comfortable. We had generations of England managers who were playing players just because they wanted to get them in a team rather than them being the best player in the right position. So horses for courses for me. If you're a right back or a right-sided midfielder, that's where you live. And you've got a good enough. Thomas has played well. He's not let anybody down when he's played. So I think he deserves the run on that left-hand side.
And Steve, let's be honest with you. You would know more than anybody about playing out of position. Cough, goalkeeper. Cough.
Yeah, but like I say, I'll go back to the the semi-final game when Southampton had their purple patch. They were getting players in between, and I think Leicester struggled for a bit, even with the formation they played, and even the formation you got set out now. There, players were getting in between, and they seem to have a hell of a lot of room. And I think West Brom, they don't play behind you; they play in front of you. So I think you're going to have a lot of play in the middle of midfield, and I don't feel it's going to go anywhere. So I'd like to see attacking through it and getting through their lines, because that's where they're going to play. They're going to play in front of you.
Yeah. Indeedy, without a question of a doubt, there, Craig.
Yeah. Wilf's, as I said before, he's the best in, right up there. If not the best, then he's right up there with the best of them at that position. So he's a natural in there for me. And then Tielemans, and then
not John Barnes. How do you expect these websites to be right when they don't update? I mean, I didn't know he was still playing.
Yeah.
Hey Steve, get your shirt on. We're going to put you up top.
and to be honest, I've not put Harvey Barnes in either.
Have you not?
No, he's injured.
He is. You see, this is just showing that I can't multitask.
Yeah. Your daughter's come online, Chris, and it's thrown you.
It has, hasn't it? That's the thing. There we go. You see, I wasn't sure. I didn't want to include Madison just in case, you'd had him round for a party.
No, I've told him to behave for a few weeks now.
I'm sorry, Steve, I've put your name in and it didn't bring anybody up there. That was what I was trying to multitask, you see, and I was thinking, anyway. But yeah, I think Maddison, and it was nice to see, I know he wasn't getting them on target, but it was nice to see him having shots when he came on.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, some people will say Perez doesn't deserve to play, but some people will say that he does deserve to play. I think for this game, though, I think Maddison, he's come out. He hinted at an apology the other day on an Instagram post saying that he's got a lot of making up to do between now and the end of the season. And I think he showed it when he came on. I think he was looking to get forward. And I think particularly against West Brom, I think he's going to win a lot of free kicks for us. Yeah, he wins a lot of free kicks anyway. But against West Brom, the way he receives the ball and he turns quickly, I think he'll win a lot of free kicks. So that's why I've put Maddison ahead of Perez.
Yeah. And then the top two, again, goes without saying at the moment, Vardy and you can't drop either of them, can you?
No, not at all.
So, I mean, Steve, that, when you look at that, that's probably with although I did try and sneak Barnes in, even if he'd probably be playing on crutches, but even for allowing for Barnes not being fit, that is at the moment is probably the you could argue Thomas or Piera, but it is, apart from that, our strongest, I think, team that we could put out.
I think so as well. Looking at it, I probably will upset people now, but I don't think that Perez is strong enough for the running. I think he's more of a luxury player. I was looking at his off the ball running, his off the ball movement, and the way he tackles. He always seems to be in between, so he's not helping and he's not creating. And I've got nothing against the guy, but I don't think he's right for the remaining games of the running.
I to be honest with you, I think you probably get a lot of agreement on that. He's very much a Marmite player for us, isn't he, Craig?
He is. I think he's done well, and I think if he gets in the pockets, he receives the balls well and he uses it well. But if you had to choose against Maddison and Perez, I think playing at the top of the game, then there's no real question that Maddison would win it. So. That's why I've put it
Exactly. Right. Let me. I want to ask a question of you here. If I can just find it. If it came up, I'm not sure about this book line. And you two guys, we'll come to Steve first. I'd like to see Hamza step in for Ndidi. He had something to prove and is better rested. To me, Hamza's third behind Ndidi and Mendy. What do you think, Steve?
I think so as well. I think you've got to stay with your strongest formation, your strongest players, and I don't feel he's one of the strongest to to be in front of anybody. Like you say, he's leaving a bit late for something to prove. So I think he's going to have to stay where he is.
Gone at the end of the season, Craig?
I think so. I like Hamza. He's a local lad. He's he went to school at the same school as my daughter. So I've got nothing against him. I think he's a great lad. He's a great character. But I think when you're starting to get to the levels in the Premier League that we are, you need people who can use the ball better. I think he's great for covering ground. He covers a lot of ground, but for me, he's not progressive enough with the ball. And his passing, I think there's an area that indeed he can improve on, to be honest, his use of the ball. But for me, Hamza needs to go away to a sort of lower Premier League team and get some games. Now, that may be on loan, but to be honest, I think it's probably time for him to go and get a permanent move and just play regularly, because he's a good player, but, not at the level that we want to be at.
I said when we were talking about him going in January, we had the injury to Ndidi and we needed him as backup for Mendy. And I think he is that squad player rather than, like you say, a starter, unfortunately. And like you say, he's a local lad and you want to see local lads do well. But, he's been a bit naughty as well this season. So we will see. We will see. Was it yourself, Craig, that said, sometimes a lot of players, when they've been through this sort of thing, they're not often still at the club at the end of the season?
Well, I think historically you've found with Leicester, when people have transgressed, they've not been here very long. But however, that's different when it's a prized asset. I think in the past, when we've had people on misdemeanors, they weren't worth millions and millions of pounds. So I think the likes of Maddison will probably get away with it a bit more than Hamza would, and so I think he'll be gone in the summer.
Mind you, misdemeanors, Steve. It didn't stop us getting rid of Mr. Pearson, did it?
Well, that's right, but I think Brendan's handled things right.
Yes. I'm not saying Brendan should go, but I'm just saying our owners aren't scared of making those big decisions.
Oh no, and I think like you say, Leicester, they're setting the precedent now. They're a team that's going to be, they're a top 6 team. They're a strong team, and they can't afford to have any weakness, and they can't afford to let the big stars, because it's happened over the years now and before, whatever. People too do get big-headed. They know they can do what they want to do, and it creates ill feeling, and you never get the best out of them. I hope Maddison has had a good kick up the backside and saying to himself, okay, I have got a lot to prove. And I think, with everything that's going round, I think it's another one of those little things that fits into the momentum, and it might be good for Leicester now that he's got to perform now for the last 7 games at least to get a bit of shine back.
Well, let's see if he does perform and get on the score sheet, which leads me very nicely into score predictions. You think this is just show is just thrown together, don't you? But it isn't. It's a carefully planned, oiled machine. So leading us in now. 2 of us have already made our predictions. Now, I'm not saying that Steve's still got splintered in his bottom at all here, but Steve has gone for a 1-1 there. But then again, like I say, he's only got 1 right all season, so I don't know about that. Steve, Walsh and myself have gone for 3-0. I just think, for me, I think we're ready for another 3-0. We're ready for another game, and like that. And I think this could be the one. Marshy's gone for a 2-0. He's being reserved for once. It's down to you, Craig. I know you never agree with me, so it's not going to be 3-0. So.
No, to be honest, I'd be surprised if we keep a clean sheet in this one. They're a big physical team. They like to play off set pieces, and we know that we're not great on set pieces either. And they do throw a lot of men forward because they have no choice really. So I think they'll score, but I'm going to go with a 3-1.
3-1. Not well. Apart, 2 of us have gone for a win, and I can understand Steve going there for the sitting on the fence 1-1.
No, two months ago, I'd have gone for a big Leicester win, But like you say,
Right.
West Brom now, they've got the momentum, and I don't think there's going to be many teams between now and the end of the season that's going to score a lot of goals against them. Because 2 months ago, they were the kicking. Anybody could score, anybody could do what they wanted to do. And I think you can say that about the other clubs in the lower half of the table, that they can still get a thrashing. But I see at the moment, the way the confidence is at West Brom and the results they've got, I think they're not going to be taking a thrashing like they were earlier on in the season. And they are going to be a threat. So Leicester's got to be on their top game on tomorrow.
Brilliant. TM has agreed with you, Craig, 3-1. Scott's gone for 4-2. He's gone for a really high scoring game. Well, gents, thank you very much. Steve, who's been, I think, whether he's actually been exiled by his good lady because she doesn't want to listen to him talking football all the time into the motorhome, or he's in the doghouse or something else. I don't know, but I hope you start to get some use out of it, Steve.
That's why I'm sitting in there, mate. I'm on the front garden. It's all cleaned up, and I'm just having a nice chill on my own.
Dude, we all need that, don't we? Thanks very much, Steve. As always, we'll get catch up next week, and let's hope we're 3 points nearer to securing Champions League football. Take care, mate.
Yes, cheers. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Steve. As always, great to have Steve on. And I'd like to say the same about you, Craig, but you know what I mean. You know it fine. Is. You know you are my wise old sage. You are. Yes, you are the Susanna Reid to my Piers Morgan, if you like. or is it the other way around?
No, I'll take that. I'll take that.
I'm sure you would. Wouldn't we all? Anyway, thanks so much, mate. We're back later in the week because we're back on playing football on Monday. So we'll be doing the preview at some agreed time over the weekend, and we'll have a chat about that, and we'll be back. But thanks very much, mate. You stay safe, and we'll speak soon.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot. Take care. So thanks to everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks for all your comments. Can I please ask that if you are commenting, that the comments that you are making are relevant to the conversations we are having or to Leicester City Football Club. There's a gentleman out there, and if... in fact, Scott, no, I didn't. Scott, you've just said there. Chris, did you find out about yellow cards and if any players are close to suspension? I tell you what, because he's still here. I'm going to bring Craig back in. Forward him, you see. Just he wasn't doing anything else. I am going to give you that as your homework, Craig.
Right.
Do yellow cards count towards the FA Cup, and are any players close to suspension? So
I want to talk to you. I think, to be honest, just a quick one. I think you have to get to 15 now to get a suspension, but I will check that out. But I don't think we've got anybody that close.
But and then I say, will it affect the FA Cup? That would be interesting. I will let you go this time. Thank you, young man. I'm sorry if I surprised you there.
That's fine.
There you go, Scott. Your wish is our command. You ask, and we will find that out for you. So as I was saying, please keep the chat questions football and Leicester City and chat related. Nothing to do with other things. The person that is concerned knows who I am saying if he is still in. Please cut those comments out. Subscribe to us. Please subscribe to us. I think we're about 3 off actually getting to the magical 450. We can get to 450, can't we? Come on, get some friends on. Get them clicking that subscribe button now, helping us out. We would love you forever. And if you want to listen back to this, you can listen to us on YouTube, Leicester Till I Die TV, or if you want to listen to us in podcast form, Anchor FM, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Podcast Addict, to name but a few. And don't forget, guys, 30% off till the end of the month. All the W's, mindingmyownfootballbusiness.co.uk, and you will get 30% off Barry Pierpoint's story of Leicester City in the 90s with a personalised message for you. I think the one he's going to do for me is going to say, Forian out. Don't blame him, to be honest with you. Great to be back for the football. We're going to be back tomorrow at about 7:10. We will have the pre-match show with Josh and Richard, and following that we're going to be doing the post-match show about 40 minutes after kickoff, 40 minutes after the final whistle. We'll see you tomorrow night. Come on, the Foxes, 3 points please, and closer to those Champions League places.
Hello,
good night
Matt
all.
Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now.